Just a Jewel with our host, Arthur Malik.
Welcome to Just a Jew. I'm your host, Arthur Malik. Today we have a very special guest. We have the founder and executive president of the Peacemakers, Rob Pop Love Williams. And Pop Love definitely fit him because everywhere he goes, he shows love and he receives love. But later for that right now, we need to hear from him himself. Pop Love, share some information about your history.
My history is not glamorous. My history goes back to years ago. I am one of those men from the street, grew up in the streets, did things in the streets, and had to pay in the prisons. I'm one of those who had a change of lifestyle, a new beginning and a new direction. And that's why we have the Peacemakers of today than what we had it from when we was in the old days in 1971.
So would there be a distinction, and what is the distinction, if any, from now and before?
From before, it was all about the violence, the street, and the community, the drugs, running rampant, gangbanging, fighting, no love. Now today we have the love in our hearts, on our minds, and in our lives. Our way of thinking has changed, so our lifestyle has changed. And by our lifestyle changing, we tend to help ourselves and to help others more and more and more. And this right here is something that we needed a long time ago. Sometimes we have it in us, we just don't listen to it, and spiritually, we don't even obey it.
Okay, when we take this terminology, peacemakers, who is this actually directed to? Is it directed to a specific group, a specific gender, or humanity at whole?
Well, we can say humanity at whole. We can also say individually. When we take the word peacemakers from the old days, you would say the peacemakers was the Colt 45, was the old gun. Peacemakers going half and half. Now you go back and you say to yourself, wait a minute, I heard that before. Well, you go to Matthew 6, verse 9, and now it comes up that you really have a great understanding of who we are today as a people. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. And that's what we all are. Children of God, peacemakers.
Okay. So, if anything, how are you perceived? Because, you know, I'm understanding that you guys are actually trying to help prevent the young adults from entering the prison systems. How are you perceived when you encounter the youngsters today?
Very good question, Malik. Sometimes we have had adversity because of the people that know us from years ago. And some will look at us and say, nothing changed. They'll see the vests, they'll see the shirts, the hats, and they'll say, oh man, I remember back in the day when they was gangbanging. Well, the thing is now when you walk into the boys club in the Bronx, when you walk into the PAL and you walk into the community centers, now you see us all in there, and we're mentoring with the youth. We're teaching anti-gang violence, public safety. We're doing things that people don't usually do, going into the senior citizens housing and throwing barbecues and having a great time. This is a mission that we're on. We're on a great mission of networking and growing and sharing with our communities. And we wish that other people would get more involved, not just with the names that they go by, but the actions that they should be going by.
What about the parents? The parents, when you speak to certain children, they may be rebellious, but more so, do you have any rebellious parents?
We have a great many of them. Some of them are still out there in the street doing their thing. That's why I bring up the boys club. People will send their children to the boys club to be out of their hair, so to speak, and to keep them off the street at the same time. But we get a hold of them, and then we meet up with the parent. The parent come in, we kick it. Some of them recognize us, they know us, especially the older one, the older generation. And then you have the young ones. They're still partying and doing their thing. But what happens is that they see that you're doing something positive. Right. When they see there's something positive going on, they start asking more questions, they start coming to our events, and now they started being a part of what we're doing, and they're participating. So it spreads. The love just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. And that's great for us, you know.
Okay, the Peacemakers was founded in 1971. How would you explain the evolution from then to now?
Back in the days in the Bronx, New York, and in Harlem, we all knew about what was taking place with the gangs, and we was a part of that. And it spread it all the way to Brooklyn. And what happened was that when New York City had everything going wrong, it was blamed on the gang groups. And during that time, evolution time and revolution time, some of us was able to move out, some of us wasn't. I was one of the ones that wasn't. I was stuck in revolution mode, militant mode. And one of the things that helped me greatly was some of the things that were stated to me years and years ago. You can be better than that. You could be a deacon. You could be a preacher. You could be teaching the kids. And it stuck with me for many years. And I know a lot of people, men and women, heard these things coming up as well. But we didn't gravitate to it. We stood and did what we was doing. And I did what I was doing. And it was a fun life, enjoyable life, because that's what I felt I wanted to do. However, things changed because the peacemakers had to change. And a lot of men was getting, not railroad, but convicted. We had to take our own responsibilities. And we had to go into the penal system. And when we ended up in the penal system, like I just stated, our way of thinking, our lifestyle had to change inside the wall before we came out the wall. So the peacemakers has been going forward and on ever since 1971, during the bad times and now during the good times. And I'm very blessed, Malik, to be here for the good times of the peacemakers.
What are the similarities of today's gangs and yesterday gangs, or is there any similarities?
There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of anger. Anger is the main culprit within our young people. Anger. Anger will make you leave home and come and join another family. Anger. Bitterness and envy and jealousy will also make you come out of that household to go and get those sneakers, those jackets, those cars. We know these things. We was doing them when we was younger as well. And now today, the killing and the shooting that's going on today, we didn't have that back then because it was just a turf thing. And when you're in that turf, you're protecting the neighborhood. It could be black, white, green, yellow, Chinese, whatever. And you just couldn't go in a certain neighborhood with a certain attitude, a certain swagger. You know, people protected their neighborhoods. Now today, people are just running in, they don't care who it is, shooting, killing, murdering, for no reason whatsoever. But they say this is a gang. But some of these people are not even a part of a gang. They're not part of a gang. They put them into a system. And they just say, systematically, they are part of a gang.
So today's gangs, the violence has enhanced or increased. What would you say is the ignition that causes the violence to increase amongst our youth?
Back to the anger. The anger, nothing to do. Sitting around. When we have old gray hairs as myself, and you coming down on a person instead of listening to them, you're going to run them away. You can go into a church, community center. They can all look at you the same way. He's not about nothing. He won't learn. He won't grow. He's hard-headed. Mm-hmm. So what did the kid do? They turn away and they walk out. So when they walk out, they get around the other hard cases. They see the guns. They see the drugs. They pick up. They start using. They start abusing. Now they have to make up for the things that they don't have.
Well, I believe today the imbalance of the family structure is one of the components that causes children to go astray. What caused you to enter a gang when you were coming up?
Well, the family is always there. We just don't know which ones that we really don't want to be around. You know, when you're coming up, everyone has skeletons. Family members, loved ones. Mm-hmm. You don't even know that some of the family members was gangbangers back in those days. My pop was a gangbanger, you know? And as I was coming up, he wasn't into all that making noise, you know, as I was coming up. Mm-hmm. But he did his dirt way before that. I was married. I got married at the age of 16. So now I'm gang banging, founded a gang, calling shots for the gang, working with the city, and I'm taking all the young guys and the young girls in the neighborhood that don't have family members or loved ones. Alcoholism, drugs abuse, like I stated earlier, will chase these kids out of the household. Today is even worse because the kids are even younger. 35 years old and their grandmothers. They're drug addicts. They're getting high. 4 and 5 men. The child is outside in the street. The baby, the grandbaby, they have them. The kid has to go and stay with somebody. And the family members don't take them in. What happens to the family? We don't blame everything on the family as a whole because we know when we was coming up, it wasn't now I'll call 911 because of child abuse. We had to take the licking and the splitting. They can't do that today.
What would be the practical solution for unification of our youth and adults?
Well, we're getting ready to have a youth summit. And that question will be asked of our youth. Because it seems that we have all the answers as adults, but we don't listen to the youth. When we come together as one, as a whole, we have to be able to have an understanding of where we have came from and where we're going, not only as adults, but as young people. How can we guide the young people today if we don't listen to them and to bring them in and have them to stay in to the fold and to the things that we're giving them? One of the solutions of us coming together, my opinion, is always to get a hold of any child that you can, to love them, to love them, to love them. And the only way to do that is through action and caring. If you show concern for a person, they know that you're there for them. When you don't, they're not there. And they won't be there. They won't come, they won't be around, because you have shown that you're not there for them.
I agree with that 100% because one of the statements that I always make is that a child doesn't care how much you know until first they know how much you care.
Definitely.
And I think when I went astray, and one of the components that I was missing was love and concern. Mm-hmm. So I definitely agree that when you articulate that love and concern, they would definitely gravitate towards you as a person.
Yes.
Now, also, when you're speaking to, I don't like to say at-risk kids, because I think we all at risk as human beings. Mm-hmm. But when you speaking to these children that's swaying a little bit, mm-hmm. do they respect the fact that you've went to prison and you've lived the life that they're trying to live? And does that cause them to listen to you more?
Yes. They listen more because they know that you have been through it. They see your swagger even today. I don't hide my swagger. I don't hide where I came from.
So you got the swag.
I have the swag.
Okay, the swag.
So they understand he's real. Being real is what you do in life at all times. You're not only being yourself, you're being real to the person to let them know, I feel you, you feel me. And the spirit touches one another. When they leave your presence, they will go and let others know that man is real. He's about his business. I don't tell a person don't drink, don't smoke, don't get high. No, I tell them the reasons why you don't smoke, you don't drink, and you don't go get high. Now the choice is yours. So if you're talking to them kids at risk, preventative measures, all kids are not at risk. They put themselves at risk. And the environment of where they hang at or who they be around. When I was coming up, they used to always tell us, pressure busts pipes. But Rob, pressure don't bust you. You're still moving. So I do that to the kids today. The pressure's not going to bust you because you're not going to let it bust you. That environment that you're in, you can handle it because you're around us all day long. I know you can handle it and I see it. So what you going to tell me about you going with this guy over here to smoke some weed? I'm going over here to get my drink on. That becomes your choice.
Absolutely.
But
I definitely, and pressure does bust pipes, but it depends on who you're listening to and what perspective of the pipe busting that you're going to adhere to, because pressure also makes diamonds. You see? So, and it's important that we be around those who understand that aspect of the pressure too, because then they can give you that positive perspective. And when you give the children that positive perspective, they walk into that. They walk into that. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if we tell our children that they're going to be nothing, 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 they walk into those footsteps of becoming nothing. But when we tell them that you're a powerful young brother, you're a powerful young sister, you're a king, you're a queen, then they begin to self-fulfilling prophecy and walking into those particular footsteps as well. So I definitely, I'm in line or inclined to understand the aspect that you're coming from.
Let me take a fork in the road. Person can bust a pipe. What do you do after that pipe is busted?
You have to call the welder and try to get this particular pipe fixed.
If not, you replace it and you change it.
Replace it and change it. Right.
So what do you do with yourself?
You got to fix it.
And you change it.
And you change, right.
And when you change it, you become new. You're able to adapt. Now you know where that pressure point is coming from. We know where the pressure point came from in our lives.
Right.
So how was we able to change and move on? A child would look at us and say, I understand what you're saying. However, I've never been there. Give me my chance to get there.
Absolutely.
Let me experience these things.
Right.
And we can say, well, listen, I'm just trying to stop you from doing this. We have adults that do the same thing. Oh, we always talking about walking around with your bag, pants down, hanging, and all that. These are grown men, not youngsters.
Adults, I agree with that. You're right.
You know, but the thing with these young men, they have no maturity. They don't wish to grow. They pushing baby carriages with their pants hanging down, cussing, making all kind of noise, and on the right hand side of them, they got another child.
But I think when I look at things, I think we all have to, scrape our knees, so to speak. We all have to fall and scrape our knees.
Yes.
Because not everything we're going to adhere to, no matter how profound it may sound. You know what I'm saying? So and if you think about you right now, the trials and tribulations that occurred in your life, if we look at it now, the individual that you become today, it is a success story. And you cannot have a success story without going through something.
Most definitely.
So, and you had to go through what you had to go through in order to be sitting in the chair that you're sitting in now. So I think we all have to just scrape our knees, but we still have to try to be there for each other because we don't want the scrape to be so profound or so deep, so deeply rooted, because then it may be hard for you to get them scrapes off. And so that's why I admire what the peacemakers are doing today. They're trying not to allow people to fall so hard.
Right.
But you are allowing them to fall because you're not dictating their behavior. You're just sharing the ramifications behind their behaviors.
Correct.
And this is beautiful.
Correct. We don't want to condemn, judge anyone, but we will do our best to love them, to show them peace, and to bring them out. One of the things is that some people will say, I'm in the eye of the storm. I wasn't in the eye of the storm. I was the storm. And my background and coming out of that storm, being institutionalized, my last bit, I just did 30 years, Malik. I didn't share too much with you on that. And I just came out 2014. I kept the organization going from inside, changed it a bit with the family members, loved ones, friends, so forth. And as you said before, some people don't want to change. They don't care. They don't care about changing. So the changes that took place in my life, and by me becoming a elder in the church, work with the pre-entry release programs, the boys club, dealing with seniors, public safety measures that we do, anti-gang violence. These things are part of the joy that I have in my life, that I was able to help others to see, and they appreciate it so much that they are with us. And other people have their own groups that we're networking with because they're feeling it. And by them feeling it, the love is spreading even more. We don't have the gangbanging in the neighborhoods. We don't run wicked and wild. These are good things. And they're good things because the people are at peace and they're enjoying themselves.
What you don't appreciate, you will depreciate.
Definitely.
So when did you begin to appreciate yourself?
I did that many, many years ago. And I tell you one thing, I won't get into the religious aspect, but I get into the spiritual aspect. When I got up one day in the chapel in the penal system and said I got to change. And I was in the penal system, had drugs on me, had numbers, had 30 boxes of cigarettes in the back under the chair, getting ready to pay off some of the guys that was in that chapel. Oh, I have a history. And the men see me walk up front and give my life over and change my whole way of thinking in the penal system. That took place 26 years ago. 26 years ago. And I've been battling. It's not perfect. It's always going to be a struggle. But as I stated, I wasn't in the eye of the storm. I was the storm. Now I have perfect peace because of that storm. And I'm relishing every moment of it. The change that overtook me was able to walk out into the big yard and guys walk up to me and say, "You real with this?" I'm real with this. And I never went back. I've been going forward ever since, stronger.
Forwards forever, backwards never. That's
Never.
That's
Never.
beautiful.
Never.
That's beautiful. One last question. It may not be my last, but one more question.
You hit me hard, man.
If you was to pass today, what would you want your eulogy to speak of?
Here's a changed man with a big heart. A man that was real in everything that he did, took his responsibility. And the main aspect of it all would be he did what was right. He did what was right. You know, we don't have to be a legend. You can leave those to the people in wide earth, John Wayne. I don't have to be a legend. I want to be me because I'm free. And I'm free indeed because of the life that I have chosen to live of righteousness and betterment.
But sometimes we don't have a choice whether to be legends or not, because we're all going to leave a legacy behind, whether it's negative or positive. And you made a transition from gang banging peacemakers to peacemaking.
Right. Excellent.
So some people will perceive that, and at your eulogy, automatically you will become a legend. But prior to your eulogy, right now, people may perceive you as being a legend because of the transition that you made. So sometimes we don't have a say-so
Right.
in things such as that in that nature. We don't have a say-so. So,
You know, that's very true. I hear that today. You know, man, you're a legend. Yes, but is that from my past character? Or is that from my character of today?
well, actually, see, and this is what I mean,
See?
that you cannot become a success story without going through something.
Definitely.
So your past, what you've been through, right, it helped cause the legendary status that you have today. Because look what you've been through and look what you do now. It's not easy to be broke and say, no, I'm not selling that drugs. It's not easy to have so many problems, say, no, I'm not picking up a bottle of liquor. I'm not sniffing no coke. It's not easy.
Definitely.
But look what you've been through. So your transformation is predicated on your past, and your past makes you legendary today.
Well, that's the thing right there. The past is the past in my life. I don't live from the past to be the legend. I let somebody else tell that story.
Absolutely.
You see, I don't need that story. The story that I have today is what I use, and I groove on it. I make it happen. I'm cool with it because I ain't got to worry about that one.
where
Yes, sir.
some people will be affected. See, you may not, you utilize it, but maybe not all. You may not go in grave details about what transpired in your life, but you still use increments of it. If you're using the prison system, that's of yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Because this is imperative to affect people that's going through it today. Like you just said, they'll listen to you because they know it's real. They know what you've been through, and that's effective to them. Because if you've never been through nothing, you're not going to touch these young guys in the street. It's real hard.
Excellent. To show one, to show one where you have came from. You can speak it,
Absolutely.
but don't use that action.
Right. Of course.
You see, what happens is that some people get caught up with their actions because other people go back, oh, you know what his reputation was? You see? Now, these are the things that come with explanations. Now, when you start explaining things, it gets out of hand because somebody else is going to tell a different story. It's like writing a book.
Oh yeah, they're gonna embellish. They're gonna do that, of course. But
Yes,
the beautiful part, the
know.
the beautiful word you just used was past
Well,
tense.
that's it.
See, and that's the and now who can give a better explanation than you?
Then you. That's right.
You see, and that's good. Now you have the forum, you have the opportunity, and this is why you're touching the people that you're touching today. I've been around you, I've been places with you so far, and I've seen how you affect people. You see,
Great.
so I see it. You're effective. You're effective because of who you are and who you've become.
And I appreciate that, Malik. And the key, I'm still turning.
Of course.
I'm still turning, unlocking. You know, I have been around some legends, some great people. You know that. And sometimes we just don't get along with them, or we didn't never see eye to eye. You know, and when you get around them and you start to just like letting everything relax and just hit them out. Now you say, I got a different perspective of this cat.
Right.
You know, he ain't all that bad for all the things we done heard about, read about, you know, done seen. All of a sudden, wait a minute, he done matured, or they just push all that to the side. And it's great. It's great because it shows that we are changing and we are letting go all the negativity that we lived and we had on someone else. And we lived it.
I agree.
We lived it.
Then sometimes you have these big-headed people who change and forget where they were yesterday.
Yes.
So they don't expect someone else, or they don't give them capabilities of change. Like someone else don't have the capability of change, and they change.
Right.
So if I can change, I can't take that away from somebody else. We
Right.
all have that option to change. You know, so and a lot of times we get big-headed in our positions,
Yes.
and we feel like no one else can change.
Exactly. And to utilize it, that change,
Right.
we need help.
Of course.
We need help. You know, when you get up that ladder, somebody helps you to get there.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Even if it was the ladder itself.
That's right.
That's right.
Somebody put it there.
That's right.
Somebody held it.
That's right.
Sometimes we just climb. And you know the old saying, is my brother too heavy? Because now you don't reach down to help no one else.
Okay, we definitely running out of time. I might need a part 2 with you because this was an excellent segment.
It's a blessing.
And it was a pleasure, Pop Love, to have you on my
Thank you so
show.
much for inviting me. Thank
So,
y'all so much.
we have to close out now. It was a pleasure to have this man, and I guess you guys should follow him. He's on YouTube also. Y'all can check him out, The Peacemakers. And I just want to say, like, don't judge and forget where you came from.
That's right.
Because one day you may return there. Just a Jew, Arthur Malik. Peace.
Just a Jewel with our host, Arthur Malik.